Do you know who discovered the X and Y chromosomes, the very foundation of how we inherit our traits? If you're like most people, you might picture a famous male scientist. But the truth is, the discovery belongs to a woman history almost erased. This is the forgotten story of Nettie Stevens, the scientist who changed biology forever, yet was denied the recognition she deserved. Nettie Maria Stevens was born in Vermont in 1861. It was an era when a woman's world was confined to the home. Marriage and motherhood were the expected path, while intellectual pursuits were strictly for men. Education for girls was a luxury, and a university degree was practically unheard of. But Nettie was different. She was relentless. From a very young age, she wasn't just reading books. She was devouring them, dreaming of science, and demanding an education. To fund her ambition, she worked as a teacher, patiently saving every dollar. Finally, she gained entry into universities at a time when women were barely allowed through the door. She wasn't just trying to learn, she was breaking barriers simply by stepping into the classroom. As Nettie's studies advanced, she found her calling in biology, specifically in a new and exciting field called cytogenetics, the study of cells and chromosomes under a microscope. Imagine it. At the dawn of the 20th century, microscopes were revealing an entirely new universe hidden from the naked eye. And Nettie Stevens had the perfect combination of patience, precision, and insight to make sense of this invisible world. Every sample, every slide, she examined them with a fierce determination, the kind that only someone fully devoted to discovery could possess. She wasn't just looking, she was searching for answers to life's biggest questions, one cell at a time. Then, in 1905, while studying the larvae of mealworm beetles, Nettie noticed something that defied all accepted wisdom. At the time, the leading scientific theory was that an organism's sex was determined by environmental factors like the temperature during incubation or even the type of nutrition it received. But what Nettie saw under her microscope was undeniable, a clear and consistent pattern. In some cells, there was a pair of large, identical chromosomes, what we now call 20, but in others, one of those chromosomes was significantly smaller, what we now call XY. It wasn't the environment. It was these chromosomes, and these chromosomes alone, that decided whether an offspring would be female or male. It was a revolutionary discovery. Nettie Stevens had just identified the X and Y chromosomes, unlocking one of the central mysteries of biology. You would think such a groundbreaking discovery would bring her instant fame and accolades. But the world of science, heavily dominated by men, was not ready to credit a woman for such a monumental breakthrough. Her findings were downplayed, sometimes even casually attributed to her male colleagues. Most infamously, her work was overshadowed by Edmund Wilson, a well-known male scientist who published similar conclusions shortly after she did. But the evidence was clear. Nettie's research was published first, and her data was more precise and conclusive. It was her observation, her analysis, and her discovery. Yet for decades, history simply refused to say her name. Tragically, Nettie Stevens had only a brief time to continue her extraordinary work. In 1912, at the age of just 50, she died of breast cancer. She hadn't lived long enough to fight for her rightful recognition or to witness how her discovery would reshape the future of genetics, medicine, and our entire understanding of life. For decades that followed, her name was missing from textbooks. The credit for discovering the X and Y chromosomes was largely given to the men who came after her, a quiet but profound injustice that left one of science's true heroes in the shadows. But today, thankfully, history is being rewritten. Nettie Stevens is increasingly being recognized as the true pioneer who uncovered the chromosomal basis of sex. Her work wasn't just a single discovery, it laid the foundation for the entire field of modern genetics. It's because of her that we can now understand, diagnose, and even treat countless genetic disorders. The world of biology as we know it today would not exist without her foundational insights. Nettie Stevens wasn't just brilliant. She was resilient, a woman who dared to ask the tough questions, challenge the established authority, and see what others refused to see. So, the next time someone asks who discovered the X and Y chromosomes, I hope you'll remember Nettie Stevens. Have you ever heard her story before watching this? Do you think recognition in science still leaves women in the shadows today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to hear more untold stories of the hidden figures who changed our world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.